The quiet lesson begins sun had barely risen when Ana de Armas walked into the studio. Her heels clicked against the polished floor, echoing in the silence of the early morning. She was wrapped in a thick coat, clutching her coffee cup like it was the only warmth she had. The night before had been long. The shoot had stretched past midnight, and now she was back again, tired, sore, and full of doubt. She had just started filming a new movie. It was her first time working so closely with Keanu Reeves. Everyone on set talked about him like he was some kind of legend, and he was calm, quiet, mysterious. But for Ana, it wasn't the fame that made her nervous. It was the way she felt like she didn't belong. People saw her beauty first, then her accent, then her silence. They often misunderstood that silence. They called her cold, distant. Some even said she wasn't ready for a role this big. Ana knew what they whispered behind her back. She could feel it when she walked into a room, the way eyes shifted, the way conversations paused for half a second. It was small things, but they burned deep. That morning, as she sat in her chair getting makeup done, she stared into the mirror and tried to breathe. Her reflection looked tired, not just physically, but in her spirit. She had fought hard to get here. To leave Cuba, to learn English, to build a life from scratch. Now she was here, standing among giants, and she felt like a child pretending to be grown. "You okay?" A soft voice said from behind. Ana turned. It was Keanu. He was dressed simply in black jeans and a worn gray hoodie. His hair was messy, and he looked like he hadn't slept either. But his eyes were kind, and more than anything, calm. It was the kind of calm that made you feel like nothing could hurt you in his presence. Ana nodded quickly. "Yeah," she said, forcing a small smile. "Just tired." Keanu studied her for a moment. Then he pulled up a chair beside her and sat without asking. "Do you want to run lines together?" he asked. Ana hesitated. "Right now, only if you want to." She nodded again, slower this time. There was something gentle in the way he asked, like he wasn't trying to help her because he felt sorry, he was offering because he truly wanted to. They began reading. At first Ana stumbled through her lines, her accent thick and her words uneven. She paused often, embarrassed, expecting him to get frustrated or correct her. But Keanu never interrupted, never corrected. He just listened. When she finished a scene, he nodded and said, "Good. Let's do it again, slower this time." And they did. Over the next hour, the makeup artists worked around them as they ran the same few lines over and over. Each time, Ana felt a little steadier, her voice stronger, her words clearer. When they finished, Keanu stood and stretched. "You've got it," he said with a soft smile. "You just need to stop fighting yourself." Ana frowned. "What do you mean?" He looked down at his hands for a moment, thinking. Then he said quietly, "You keep thinking you have to prove something, but you already belong here, so let yourself be." Ana didn't know what to say. No one had ever said that to her before. As the day went on, Ana kept thinking about his words. On set, during breaks in the car ride home, they echoed in her mind like music she didn't want to stop hearing. But not everything that day was easy. After lunch, the director called for a difficult scene. Ana's character was supposed to break down in front of Keanu's character. It was heavy, emotional, raw. They rehearsed it once, and Ana struggled. The tears wouldn't come. Her voice cracked, but it felt forced. She hated how fake it sounded. The director sighed loudly. "Let's take 5. Ana walked off set, heart pounding. She stood by the wall, breathing hard, feeling like a failure. She didn't even notice Keanu walk up behind her until he said, "Can I show you something?" She turned to him, confused. "Okay." He handed her his phone. On the screen was a video, an old one. A woman was crying on a stage, giving a speech. It wasn't an actress. It was a mother at a charity event, talking about losing her son. Ana watched. The woman's voice was shaky. Her pain was real, not polished, not performed. It was honest. When the video ended, Keanu said, "That's truth. Not perfect, not clean, just truth." Ana stared at him. He continued, "Don't act the pain. Remember your own. Use that." She nodded slowly. They returned to set. The cameras rolled again. This time Ana didn't act. She remembered a night years ago in Havana when she had left home crying, telling her parents she had to chase her dream even if it meant being alone. She remembered the cold nights in Los Angeles, eating instant noodles because she couldn't afford anything else. She remembered the rejection, the loneliness, the silence, and she broke. The tears came, real and shaking. Her voice cracked not from acting, but from something deeper. And when she finished the scene, the room was silent. The director didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. Then he said softly, "That was perfect." Anna turned to Keanu, who only gave her a quiet nod. That night, Anna didn't go home right away. She sat in her car outside the studio, staring at the sky. Something had shifted inside her. Keanu hadn't taught her how to act. He had taught her how to feel again, and that, she realized, was a life lesson she would never forget. The day the storm came next morning, Anna woke up with something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. The air in her apartment was quiet, but her heart wasn't. It was full, still carrying the weight of yesterday, but somehow lighter. She reached for her script and read the lines again. Not just to memorize, but to feel. She no longer saw the words as pressure or expectation. Now, they were moments. Pieces of a story she could step into. When she arrived on set, something felt different. People greeted her with warmer eyes. Someone brought her coffee without asking. The makeup artist smiled and said, "You were amazing yesterday." Anna didn't know what to say. Praise wasn't something she was used to. She simply smiled and whispered, "Thank you." But deep inside, a new kind of fear stirred. Because now the expectations were higher, while people were watching, and that made her nervous again. By mid-morning, the studio buzzed with tension. The scene they were shooting that day was one of the most important in the film. It was where Anna's character had to confront her past in a long monologue, no cuts. No background music, just her voice and the camera, raw, exposed. Even seasoned actors found scenes like this tough. The pressure to hold the moment, to stay real, to not fall apart. It could crush you. Anna sat quietly, script in hand, trying not to shake. She glanced over and saw Keanu pacing gently, mumbling his lines. He looked peaceful, like the pressure didn't touch him. Like he was water moving through rocks. She wondered how he did it. "You okay?" he asked, walking over. Anna looked up. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. Keanu nodded, as if he had heard those words 100 times before from himself. "Maybe you don't have to do it all at once," he said softly. "Just take the first breath. Then the next. Then the next." Anna closed her eyes. "But what if I mess it up? Then we do it again," he said with a shrug. "Nobody's counting how many times you fall, only how you get back up." Words hit her in a place no director or acting coach ever reached, because they weren't about the scene. They were about life. Soon, the director called everyone in. The lights dimmed. The camera turned on. Action. Anna stepped into the scene. She stood alone in front of the lens. Her heart pounded like a drum inside her chest. She began to speak at first. Her voice was quiet, shaky, but then she remembered Keanu's voice, just the next breath, so she took one. Then another. The words flowed like water from a broken dam. They weren't just lines. They were pieces of herself, her childhood, her fear, her dreams, her grief. As she spoke, silence fell over the room. No one moved, not even the crew. When she finished, her cheeks were wet. Her body trembled. She hadn't even realized she'd been crying. The director said nothing at first. Then slowly he clapped. Others joined in. Soft at first, and louder. Anna looked around, overwhelmed. She didn't know how to take it. And Keanu. He didn't clap. He simply walked up to her, placed a hand on her shoulder and whispered, "You didn't act. Lived." Anna nodded, too emotional to speak. But the peace didn't last long as she walked back to her trailer later. She overheard 2 crew members talking. "She did good today," one said. The other replied, "Sure, but let's see if she can do it again tomorrow." One good scene doesn't mean she's lead material. Words cut through her like a knife. Doubt rushed back in like a storm inside her trailer. She sat alone, staring at the wall. Why was it never enough? Why did she always have to prove herself again and again? A knock came at the door. It was Keanu. He didn't speak. He just walked in, handed her a folded piece of paper, and sat down across from her. She opened it. On the paper, in simple handwriting, were 4 words. Your truth is enough. She looked up, eyes glassy. What if they don't believe it? She asked. Keanu leaned forward. They will. But even if they don't, you must. His voice was firm, not loud, not dramatic. But it had weight. The kind that came from pain and years and quiet wisdom. Anna folded the paper and placed it in her bag. She would keep it. Always. That night, she didn't cry. Not because she wasn't hurt, but because something stronger had taken root. Something Keanu had planted without even trying. Resilience. Behind the lights. A shadow. It had been 2 weeks since the long monologue scene. Anna was growing more confident with each day. People on set began treating her with real respect, not just politeness. Some even asked her for advice or feedback on their own scenes. She still carried quiet doubt inside, but it no longer controlled her. She had started to believe just a little that she deserved to be there. Keanu, as always, stayed calm and steady. He never acted like a star. He moved with the crew like he was one of them. He helped move props, waited in line for lunch, and spoke to everyone with the same quiet respect. Anna watched him closely. One day, between scenes, she asked, "Why are you always so kind to everyone, even people who aren't kind to you?" Keanu smiled softly. "Because I've been the person no one noticed. I've been the person everyone wanted something from." Kindness feels good in both places. Anna thought about that all day, but not every moment was peaceful. One afternoon, while waiting for lighting adjustments, Anna checked her phone. There were new messages. A link. An article. She clicked. The headline hit her like a punch in the chest. Ana de Armas struggles to carry emotional Since Insiders. Question if she's ready for lead roles. Her hands went cold. Her heart pounded. The article quoted unnamed sources. It mentioned delays on set. It claimed producers were concerned. None of it was true, but it was out there for the world to see. Anna sat frozen in her chair. People walked by, talking, laughing, but she didn't hear any of it. Her vision blurred. Keanu sat down beside her without a word. He had seen the article too. "They don't know you," he said. Anna shook her head. "It doesn't matter. People will believe it." "Some might," Keanu said calmly. "But the people who matter, the ones who see your work, your heart, they'll know better." "What if it ruins everything?" she asked. Keanu looked at her, steady and kind. "Then we start again. Falling doesn't mean you're finished." His words wrapped around her like a blanket, but the doubt still lingered. A few hours later, Anna stood in front of the camera for another important scene. But now her hands shook. Her mind kept going back to that article. Her chest tightened. When the director called action, she spoke her lines, but they came out flat. "Cut," the director said, frowning. Again. They tried again. Same result. Anna was drowning in her own thoughts. She saw the crew exchanging looks. She saw someone whisper to someone else. It was happening again. The same fear, the same sinking feeling. After the third failed take, the director waved a frustrated hand. "Let's take a break." Anna rushed off set. Behind one of the trailers, she leaned against a wall and covered her face. Tears burned in her eyes. She tried to breathe, but her chest wouldn't open. Then she heard soft footsteps. Keanu appeared again, quiet as always. He didn't ask what was wrong. He already knew. He handed her a folded piece of paper, like he had before. This time it said, "Your value is not what they say. It's what you keep doing anyway." Anna pressed her lips together, holding back the tears. Keanu sat beside her on the ground. He sat in silence for a while, just breathing. "Can I ask you something?" she finally said, "Of course." "How do you keep going when the world keeps trying to break you?" Keanu stared up at the sky. "You learn to stop giving the world the keys to your worth," he said softly. "Some people will cheer when you rise. Some will wait for you to fall. But none of them get to decide who you are. Anna nodded slowly. She let the words settle into her. Then, without speaking, she stood up. "I'm ready," she said, back on set. She stepped into the scene again. This time she didn't think about the article, or the whispers, or the fear. She thought about her own truth, the pain she had known, the strength she had built, the voice she had almost lost, and she let that speak. The director didn't yell, "Cut," this time. He waited. And when she finished, he simply said, "That's the take." Anna walked off set, and for the first time in a long time, she felt proud of herself. But something still bothered her. Why had someone written that article? And who had leaked false stories from the set? That night, she stayed late at the studio to pick up her notes. As she walked through the quiet hallway, she passed by an open door. Two voices inside. She paused. "She's getting too much attention," one voice said. This was supposed to be his comeback, not her rise. "I know," said the other, "but Keanu keeps backing her." They listened to him. Anna's stomach dropped. She recognized the voices, two producers. It's high up. They weren't just doubting her. They were working against her. And suddenly, the storm made sense. When silence speaks, Anna didn't sleep that night. The words she heard outside that office replayed in her head like a broken song. She's getting too much attention. This was supposed to be his comeback, not her rise. The betrayal felt heavier than the fear. These were people who smiled at her every day, people who shook her hand and told her they believed in her. Now she knew the truth. They didn't want her to succeed. They wanted her to stay small. By morning, her eyes were puffy and red, but she walked onto the set with quiet strength. She didn't tell anyone what she had heard. Not yet. She needed to think. Keanu noticed something was off. He watched her closely during their first scene of the day. Her voice was steady, but her eyes looked different, like they were holding something in. After the take, he gently pulled her aside. "What happened?" he asked. Anna shook her head. "Nothing." But Keanu had known silence longer than most, and he knew when it was hiding pain. "You don't have to carry it alone," he said softly. Anna looked up at him. Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry. She just whispered, "Some people on this set don't want me here. They're trying to make me fail." Keanu's face didn't change. He didn't look surprised. He just nodded slowly. "Then we make it impossible for them to win," he said. "How?" she asked. "By being better than the lie?" His words gave her something she hadn't felt in hours. Power. Not the kind that yells or fights or proves itself loudly. The quiet kind. The kind that says, "I will not break." That afternoon the scene was tense. It was a fight between Anna's and Keanu's characters. Emotional, explosive. The kind that required control and chaos at once. As the camera rolled, something inside Anna snapped into place. She wasn't just acting anymore. She was releasing everything. The pain of being doubted, the anger of being betrayed, the sorrow of being seen only through others' fear, and the strength of still standing. Her voice rose and cracked. Her eyes burned. Her hands shook with fire. When the director yelled "cut," there was dead silence. Then applause, not from the director, not from the producers, but from the crew, the lighting team, the makeup staff, the assistants, people who had watched her grow from a quiet question mark into something unstoppable. Keanu walked over, placed his hand on her shoulder, and said only 3 words. "They saw you." Anna felt something rise in her chest. It wasn't pride. It was peace, but the shadow still loomed. That evening, as they wrapped for the day, Keanu pulled her aside. "Do you want to speak up?" he asked. Anna looked down. "I'm scared," she said. "What if it makes things worse?" "Then we deal with worse," he said gently. "But silence doesn't protect the truth. It only protects the lie." Anna nodded slowly. "I'll think about it." The next day, something unexpected happened. A new article appeared online. This one was different. Ana de Armas wins crew admiration after powerful scene, sources say. She's the heart of the film. Anna blinked at the screen. Where had this come from? She scrolled down. Quotes from set workers. Praise for her honesty, her emotion, her growth. It was a light in the dark. Someone had spoken out. Someone who believed in her. Keanu sat across from her during lunch, sipping tea like nothing had changed. She looked at him. "Did you?" He smiled softly and said, "Nothing." But she knew. He had done it without a speech, without asking for thanks. He had spoken for her when she was 2, afraid not to save her, but to remind her of her own voice. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu simply said, "Now you do the same for someone else someday." Later that night, Anna finally sat down and wrote something. A letter. Not to accuse, not to attack, just the truth, what she heard, how it made her feel. Why she stayed quiet. She didn't send it. Not yet. But she folded it carefully and kept it in her bag, because she was almost ready. Almost. But before she could take that final step, something happened. One of the producers pulled her aside between scenes. His voice was low. "Careful. You've been doing great," he said. "But we think you should stay focused. No distractions. And maybe no more talking to press." Anna stared at him. He smiled, but his eyes were sharp. "For your own good." He added, "It wasn't advice. It was a warning." She walked away slowly, her hands cold. When she told Keanu, he didn't get angry. He just said, "Now it's clear. Now, it's your move." Anna sat alone in her trailer that night, holding her folded letter. She unfolded it. Then she opened her laptop. She clicked compose. And she began to write. The voice they couldn't silence, eighth email, wasn't loud. It had no accusations. No fire, no anger, just truth. Anna wrote every word with care, not to hurt, not to expose. Just to be clear, she told the producers how she felt when she overheard their words. How hard she had worked to earn her place. How damaging the fake article had been, and how their attempt to keep her silent only made things worse. At the end of the message, she wrote, "I am not here to fight. I am here to be heard. And to work, if that is no longer welcome, then let me know now." She hit send, then closed her laptop. Her heart raced. But her hands were steady. It was out of her hands now. The next day on set, nothing felt different at first. People moved around. Cameras were being set up. Makeup artists brushed powder onto her face like always. But Anna felt different. Lighter, stronger. Keanu found her near the soundstage. He looked at her, and without saying anything, he knew. "You did it?" he asked. She nodded. "Proud of you," he said quietly. "I'm still scared," she replied. "That doesn't make you weak," he said. "It makes you honest." Anna gave a soft smile. When filming began, the scene was quiet and emotional exchange between Anna, Keanu's characters under soft lights. They didn't need music. Their silence held enough. In that silence, Anna remembered everything. The years of doubt, the people who questioned her, the long nights of struggle, and the kindness of one man who didn't try to fix her, but who reminded her she didn't need fixing. After the scene, the director clapped. He rarely clapped. "Brilliant," he said. "Pure truth." Anna looked at Keanu, gave a nod of approval. But the real surprise came that afternoon. Her phone buzzed. An email from one of the producers. "Thank you for your message. We hear you. Let's talk." That was all. But it was enough. A shift day. Crack in the wall later, in a private meeting with the production team, Anna sat across from the two producers. She was nervous.
Oh.
They had power. But now, so did she. They spoke calmly. They didn't admit everything, but they apologized for the stress caused. They asked for a fresh start. Anna listened carefully, then said, "I'm not asking for favor. I just want fairness. I want space. To grow, I want truth to be stronger than fear." One of them nodded slowly. "You have it," said. She left the meeting not as a winner, but as a woman who would refuse to stay silent. Word spread quickly on set. People sensed something had shifted Anna. It wasn't just the rising actress anymore. She was someone who had taken a stand, and not against anyone. For herself, Keanu found her near the lunch tent later that day. He handed her a small paper folded twice. She opened it. You used your voice? Now others will too. She smiled, and that's exactly what happened. 2 crew members came to her the next day, thanking her. A younger actress on a side role said, I saw what you did. I didn't think I could speak up either, till now. Anna realized something powerful that day sometimes. The greatest strength doesn't come from shouting. It comes from standing still when others try to push you down. From choosing truth, even when it shakes your hands. From choosing kindness when you could choose revenge, Anna continued, filming with a new kind of energy. Scenes that once scared her now felt like playgrounds for her truth. Every time she acted, she poured something real into the camera. Not just the lines, but the woman she had become. Keanu watched quietly. Like always, he never took credit. Never. Told others what he had done, but Anna knew, without him, she might have drowned in silence. But now she was swimming and pulling others with her. As the final weeks of filming approached, the cast and crew began talking about the wrap party, about awards season, about how this movie felt special. Anna overheard a senior editor say, she carries this film. She really does. No one questioned it. No one whispered. No one doubted her now. But there was one moment left. One scene. One last test of everything she had learned. And it was the one scene she had feared from the beginning. Single shot, one take one. Long. Silent expression of heartbreak. No dialogue, just her face. Just truth. It was the final day of shooting, as she stood in front of the camera. The entire crew stood behind it. Everyone watched Keanu stood beside the director. Arms folded, eyes folded, eyes. Calm, the camera rolled. Anna stared forward, into nothing, and remembered everything, every wound, every failure, every act of quiet kindness, every small step that brought her here. Her eyes filled not with pain, but with gratitude, and as one tear rolled down her cheek, the director whispered, "Cut, no." One moved. The silence lasted. Then slowly, one by one, they clapped. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. The lesson that stayed forever a month had passed since the movie wrapped. Anna stood alone on a beach near Malibu, out, her toes in the sand. The script pages fluttering in her hands like wings. This wasn't a shoot. It was real life. For the first time in years, she had nothing scheduled. No auditions. No meetings. No urgent calls. Just the sound of the waves, the wind in her hair, her own breath. She felt free, but most of all, she felt changed. Everything the movie gave her wasn't fame. It wasn't money. It wasn't even praise, though there had been plenty of that. What the film gave her was something deeper. Voice, not. The kind used only for acting. The kind used for truth. The kind used when no one is looking. When the film was released, it hit harder than anyone expected. Audiences cried. Critics praised her performance as soul-shaking and unforgettably honest. Interviewers asked her about her process. Anna always smiled softly and said, "I stopped trying to be perfect. I just started being present." In one interview, a host asked, "What changed for you during filming?" Anna thought for a moment, then replied, "Kindness changed me." "Kindness?" The host asked. "Yes," she said, "the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't try to fix you. Just stands beside you and reminds you you're enough." She didn't mention Keanu by name. She didn't need to. Those who knew the story knew. Who she meant, those who didn't would feel it anyway. Months later, Anna got a call. The film had been nominated for major awards, and she was nominated. For Best Actress, she stared at the phone for a long time after that call, not because she didn't believe, but because she finally did, and that in itself was the biggest change of all. At the award ceremony, the lights were bright and the cameras were endless. Reporters asked questions. Stylists buzzed around her. People clapped. Everyone looked perfect. But Anna didn't feel the need to prove anything anymore. She wore a simple dress, no extra diamonds, no forced smile, just herself, as she sat waiting. For her category, she felt a hand gently squeeze hers. It was Keanu. He had come not as a co-dash star, as a friend. No matter what happens tonight, he whispered. You already won. Anna smiled when her name was called as the winner. The room erupted in applause. She stood slowly. Breathing in, the walk to the stage felt like the end of a long road, but also the start of something new. At the podium, she looked out at the audience, and for a moment she said nothing. Then in a soft voice she began, I almost didn't make it here. It's not because of the work, but because of the doubt. She paused. There were moments on set where I thought I wasn't enough, where I heard things that made me question everything. But in the middle of all that, there was one person who reminded me that silence isn't weakness, and kindness isn't small. It's power. She glanced toward Keanu, who sat in the front row, his face calm and proud. I share this with every person who ever felt invisible, unheard, unsure. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. You don't have to be loud to be strong. The crowd rose in applause, but Anna didn't cry. She simply smiled, peacefully, like someone who had finally come home to herself. Weeks later, she visited a small acting school in East Los Angeles. A young girl, barely 19, asked her, how do you stay strong when no one believes in you? Anna bent down and looked her in the eyes. You believe in yourself louder, she said, even if the only one who hears it is you. The girl nodded slowly. Anna placed a hand on her shoulder. And if someone shows you kindness along the way, she said, remember it, then pass it on. That night, Anna sat on her apartment balcony, wrapped in a blanket, sipping warm tea. The city lights below shimmered like stars. She opened her notebook and found a small folded paper tucked between the pages. It was the very first note Keanu had ever given her. Your truth is enough. She read it again, then she picked up a pen on a fresh page. She wrote a new message. For someone else, you don't have to shine to be seen. Just be real. She tore the page gently, folded it, and placed it into a small envelope marked, to the next voice learning to speak, because that was the lesson Keanu had given her, and now it was hers to carry forward.